So apparently this chapter of One Piece is getting a lot of flack. It's being labeled as boring, shit, trash. It's getting all these different titles. And I'm just sitting here thinking, what? I actually really enjoyed this chapter. In my honest opinion, I thought this chapter had everything that I actually like about One Piece, and it fits Oda's style. Maybe it's because I like the Alice in Wonderland theme. That could be the reason, and maybe not everybody likes that. Maybe not everybody likes the craziness of the way the forest is moving around. It has its own life and stuff, and there's just so many Alice in Wonderland themes, even Hansel and Gretel and stuff being added in there. Just a lot of fairy tales and type of stuff are centered around this arc of One Piece, and maybe that's why I like it. Who knows? But I just don't necessarily think that this chapter of One Piece is all that bad. Now, it's not the most exciting One Piece chapter of all time. No, by no means is it. But I don't believe it should be labeled as something that is trash. I just don't. But anyways, this chapter, in a nutshell, it has a lot of setup and a lot of potential for some really good things to happen in the near future. And it's a very good comedy throughout the chapter. And one of the best, single best moments of this chapter had to be that moment to when Nami pretty much got beat by Luffy in an argument. When that happens, oh my god, shit just hit the fan. Nami lost an argument against Luffy. And we know how Luffy is. Now, he's not that dumb. I mean, he's dumb, but he's not the stupidest person we've ever seen. So, Nami losing to Luffy in an argument, it was just so funny because the argument was about this. A crocodile is in the water. It pops up, and it was about to eat the Straw Hat crew. And it's like, oh, just humans, and walks off. It's just like nothing's, wrong. It has clothing on and everything. It just looks like a really weird crocodile. And I mean, in all honesty, the entirety of this arc has been very weird, so it's not really abnormal. And Luffy goes along the lines of saying, really, Nami, you think that's, abnormal? I mean, you should know by now with all we've been through, you should know this is kind of normal to us. And I'm thinking, like, that's pretty fucking true. And I mean, what's even weirder is that Nami says a talking crocodile is weird when they were just in an island, or just on Zou, that was about animals that could talk. Mink tribe. And I'm thinking, like, what? You even have Chopper, and you have Carrot that are right there behind you. And their face is comedy gold. 10 out of 10 right there. But you even have two talking animals right behind you, right in front of you, whatever, and you're thinking a talking crocodile is odd. Nami, you lost this argument. Like, you straight up just got wrecked by Luffy. So anyways, Luffy, after demolishing Nami in an argument, he encounters some form of mirror version of himself. And this is very weird. Now, I wonder exactly what this means. It could possibly be an illusion. Maybe our characters are experiencing a hallucination. That is a possibility, because throughout this chapter, we know that Sanji keeps reappearing and disappearing constantly throughout the chapter. And the Sanji is not any way similar to the same Sanji we know, because he's not talking, but also the Sanji that we see was actually licking a lollipop, or having a lollipop, which reminds me, gives me nightmare fuel and flashbacks to the, English dub version of One Piece. Oh my god, don't remind me of that trash version of One Piece. Holy fuck. But you have it to where Sanji has a lollipop, and that's completely different from what we know from Sanji, because Sanji, usually smokes. So seeing him, have a lollipop, completely different from the Sanji we know, so that's probably not him. And if I had to place any bets, judging by how this arc has been kind of focused around fairy tales and Alice in Wonderland and stuff, I'm willing to believe that has something to do with the cat in Alice in Wonderland. Think about it for a second. If you think about Alice in Wonderland, think about how the cat in Alice in Wonderland loves sitting in trees and stuff and like laying sideways and just looking all cocky. That's kind of how that looks. And I believe that's what's going on here. But when it comes to Luffy's situation with fighting himself, I don't know if that's a devil fruit ability being used, or if they're all just hallucinating in this forest. Because the forest is called the Seducing Woods, or the Seducing Forest, something like that. And once again, I gotta emphasize that the entirety of the forest reminds me of the forest in Alice in Wonderland, and some parts of Hansel and Gretel. And I love what Oda is doing this, because one thing about Oda is that he really knows how to add some wacky things throughout the entirety of his series, and he really makes it just so interesting. And I love the art. And one thing I think many people are not actually giving proper praise to when it comes to this chapter is how the artwork is. The artwork is absolutely astounding in this chapter, because I mean, look, it's probably not that easy to draw that many wacky things in one chapter. I mean, look at some of the backgrounds. If you really take a moment, besides looking at the dialogue dialogue, look at the backgrounds, and you see like that one part in the final part of the chapter where you see the forest with the faces and stuff. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It really does. And I feel like many people are overlooking that of how probably hard that was to draw and just how interesting it is. I mean, it looks so crazy looking, and it's so cool, and it fits the vibe of One Piece. I love that so much. So maybe it's just me. Maybe it's because I love fairy tales. I love Alice in Wonderland and Hansel and Gretel and, you know, Little Red Riding Hood and all sorts of types of fairy tales. But I personally enjoyed this chapter. I even love the comedy that was used. And speaking of other segments besides what I've already talked about, Brook is also going to be going on with Pedro. He's going with Pedro to get the Poneglyph to go help him out, and so Brook is not really going to be with, you know, Luffy and Nami at the moment. The main group is kind of separated. You have it to where Nami, Chopper, you have it to where Carrot and Luffy are working together in their individual group, and everyone else is going on their own tour to get to the Poneglyph. So it's kind of split up. Now, another thing is the forest is very dangerous, clearly. We already see how dangerous this forest is, and it raises many questions. Is Pudding really trustworthy? And this is something that's, you know, been a frequent question throughout these past couple chapters. Is Pudding to be trusted? Can we trust her as a character? And if you do remember some of her dialogue, she did say, wait on the beach. She didn't say, enter the forest, go eat everything in sight, go follow any mystery thing you see in front of you. She didn't say that. She just said wait on the beach. But there is an argument against that. I mean, Luffy already said he saw Sanji and he saw Pudding on the beach before they even arrived, and when he got there, they saw Sanji in the woods, and then they followed him. So in all honesty, if Pudding, you know, if she wanted to actually be trustworthy, she could have said something about the forest that they were landing on, where they were about to land on the beach. She could have said, oh, the forest can drag you in, give you hallucinations or something, it's very dangerous, and you could possibly die, and she didn't say that. So that is very mysterious when it comes to that part of the chapter. So overall, One Piece, I think it was a good chapter. I really do. I mean, I could see how some might not like it because of the fairy tale theme, and maybe they wanted, you know, Pudding in this chapter, maybe they wanted more Sanji, maybe that's a possibility. Maybe that's why many people are disappointed, but personally, I don't see why many dislike this chapter. Now, if you have good reasons, please point them out to me. I'd be thankful to see why you dislike this chapter, because everybody has an opinion. Everybody can dislike or like something, and I see no problem with that. But if anyone does dislike this chapter, could you please kind of clarify why you dislike it? Besides it being like trash, shit, boring, and stuff, just could you let me know, like, what is your reasons? Because I will gladly accept it if you can give me some really good reasons. So you all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.